Walmart might hook up with Jet.com. Moon Express is ready to monetize the moon. Apple achieves pay equity, but we still have some work to do. And a bus that eats cars. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1569, recorded Wednesday, August 3rd, 2016. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Tracker, a coin-sized tracking device that pairs with your smartphone and keeps you from losing your most valued possessions. Visit thetracker.com right now and enter promo code TNT for 30% off your entire order.
And by Trunk Club. Get clothes that fit and look amazing without ever stepping into a store again. Trunk Club will help you create the wardrobe that you've always dreamed of with your own personal stylist. Go to trunkclub.com/TNT and join Trunk Club today. Hey, this is Tech News Today. Welcome. This is a show where we talk about some techie things that happened today, sometimes yesterday. I'm Megan Morrone.
I'm Jason Howell. How are you, Megan?
I'm good. I think everything that we're going to talk about today happened today.
Good.
But I'm not sure.
Well, maybe they started yesterday. Actually, I don't know. I didn't check the timestamp, and I don't care because it's just the way this show goes, dang it.
Right. It happened today unless you're listening to it a week from now. Then it happened last week.
Yeah, and you did it to yourself. So you have yourself to blame. Just saying. Hello and welcome to another episode. Okay, no. Instead of starting over again, we're going to go into the top story here. Just 1 year ago emerged a would-be competitor to Amazon's massive e-commerce behemoth. Jet.com launched last July, armed with more than, cumulatively around $500 million of venture funding. And in 1 month after launch, became the number 4 marketplace online in terms of sales, beating the usuals like Best Buy and Newegg, Sears, others in the space. But its aim was to beat Amazon at its own game. And now Walmart is apparently in talks to buy Jet.com, which would signal defeat in its ambitions to do so. Did you ever shop at Jet?
I signed up and I got a whole lot of email.
Yeah.
And I got annoyed and then I unsubscribed and then I never did. Did you?
I remember when they first launched, they had these they were undercutting Amazon prices and everything. And I was like, oh, I should really check that out. But it's still, it did not pull me. Even though the prices for certain things were less at Jet than they were at Amazon, you would think that would be enough to pull you over. But I'm so locked in. And I think so many people already, are in the same boat where you're just locked into, Amazon shopping. But it's also kind of much bigger than that. If you're a Prime user, it's just kind of ingrained in you that you do that.
Right.
And I think that was my challenge anyways, personally.
Do you ever use Google Express?
No, I never do.
Yeah, I've used it once because I got $5 off. And,
right.
It's nothing fresh. It's all just the stuff you would buy at Costco, that it is non-perishables.
Right.
And that, that was fine. But a lot of packaging, I guess the same amount of packaging as you would get at, if you ordered stuff from Amazon, food from Amazon. But yeah, no, I'm not surprised that Jet needs to join up. I've made this analogy before, but it does seem like it's that time. It's like the end of the night, last call. Everyone's like, who am I going to go home with? And Walmart and Jet are like, yeah, you. And
you ended up with Walmart, Jet. I'm really sorry about that. But hey, at least you ended up with somebody.
But Walmart ended up with Jet. Since when does Walmart need anybody? That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, but when you take Amazon, which is eating everybody's lunch, whether you're brick and mortar or not, and Walmart is incredibly successful, don't get me wrong, but Amazon has a thing with online shopping. When it comes to online shopping, Amazon's the big kahuna, and Walmart, has designs to at least challenge it. It's done really well in the brick and mortar space. I'm sure they very much so want to dominate online as well, and having some sort of, a company whose ambition at one point was to be the next Amazon and to beat Amazon certainly helps them in that regard, as far as their processes for managing these payments and their sales online, all this kind of stuff that Jet's learned over the past year. I'm sure it would be valuable to Walmart. It's not like Walmart doesn't have an online presence, but I don't know how this would tie into that. It's not official, by the way. Obviously, this is still kind of could happen. Walmart is interested, but Jet had a lot. Basically had an uphill battle. It basically planned on burning a lot of money on a monthly basis, talking hundreds of millions of dollars in the first few years, just basically on marketing, just to get around the fact that Amazon is so well known, and for anyone to compete with it, I mean, it's just going to take a lot of money and upfront. And they originally had expected for a paid service.
Yeah, it was $50. Like they don't. That's why I'm wondering why Jet, because they seem to not know what they're doing exactly. Let's charge people $50, and we think that will be enough that they'll switch from Amazon or stop going to Costco, and they're going to come to us instead, and we're going to sell them because we're going to sell them products for a little bit cheaper.
Right.
And then they realized people were going to balk at that. They just weren't ready to try a service for $50. So now, I mean, I don't know. I don't understand how it works. So it seems that the retailers themselves are selling the things. If you order from Jet, the retailers are selling them these things to the consumers, and then Jet is taking a percentage. So I don't know what it's in it for the retailer. They just want to avoid paying whatever you'd have to pay Amazon to sell your stuff through there.
I guess so. Yeah, there was a different business model where they were using the suppliers as opposed to kind of like Amazon's proven, and it works for Amazon, their warehouse inventory model of things. I mean, it's not like Amazon doesn't have a paid service. They have Prime, and I'm sure that when Jet was going into this, you know, that was a consideration. Like, well, it works for Amazon, so it could work for us too. Let's just price it cheaper. Let's, you know, have competitive pricing on products as well, and maybe we can shave off some cost off of that by working with the suppliers as opposed to having to buy all this inventory and store it and then ship it out as needed. Or apparently that didn't work.
Right, because I mean, look at what else I get with Prime. Like, I get to watch Mr. Robot for free.
Well,
like,
there's the other
you know,
perks.
I get to listen to music. I have my, you know, I get to order an Amazon Echo. Like, there's, you know, I mean, all the other services. There's so many more. Those just happen to be the ones that I use. But like, there's so much more that you get with Prime. So
more value add, but you're also spending twice as much as what Jet was originally planning to do. So, you know, maybe that's a big part of it, is that we're willing to spend a monthly fee on things in aggregate, but not necessarily just the right to get lower prices and cheap or non-existent shipping cost. I don't know.
Well, Tesla announced no profits today and a lower than expected loss. In case you're counting, this is the electric car and battery maker's lucky 13th straight quarterly reported loss. The stock is fluctuating, but not so widely that anyone is losing faith in the company. Don't worry, don't freak out. Analysts had estimated an adjusted loss per share of 60 cents, and the company reported a loss per share of $1.06 instead. The company also forecasted the delivery of 80,000 new vehicles for this year, but so far they've only delivered 14,402. And as we know, the year is halfway done already. In a statement, Tesla is blaming the loss on the end of quarter steep production ramp and the Model X, which Elon Musk calls one of the most difficult cars ever to build. It took a lot longer than they'd hoped to deliver. Analysts are also worried about the planned acquisition of Solar City and the somewhat lackluster response to the Tesla Master Plan Part 2.
Part 2.
You could say it like that, and that's just sort of insulting to it in general. And you know, they're also like, you hear a lot about the fatal accident too. Like that's in the mix. I mean, I've talked, you know, when I talk about like, oh, I want self-driving cars, I won't be, people don't get in accidents. The first thing the average person says, well, that Tesla got in the accident. I mean, that is in the air. Like that is something people are thinking about now.
Sure.
So
Tesla really needs to deliver on some of its promises right now. You know, with the Model 3 especially, it really needs to kind of deliver on that promise. Musk has stated that more capital expenditure would not be made until the Model 3 production is totally full steam ahead and in full production levels. And I mean, if they forecasted 80,000 new vehicles for the year, to this point through Q2, they've only, you know, delivered, was it 14,000 just for the quarter or in total? I'm not sure whether, but
14,000 cars.
Yeah, is that for
so
the
far
total?
At the beginning of the year.
Beginning of the year.
So
that's very shy.
Yeah.
But then they also point out that half of that number, the 14,000, was produced in the last month of this quarter. So they've picked it up. But even when you take a look at that, man, they're really off target for hitting kind of their targets, and that's not what you want to be when you're in Tesla's shoes.
Yeah, and I think it picks up because they reduce the price a little bit so that they can say, but look, it picked up just in the last quarter. So that they do that on purpose.
Yeah, right.
So, or so I read.
See, it's not all bad.
Yeah.
when when that's your strategy with your earnings, it's not all bad. That's probably not a good earnings.
No, but I mean, no one's really losing faith in Tesla. And the accident thing, Scooter X in the chat room just pointed out, there were hundreds of deaths just today for the regular cars. Of course,
sure.
That it is safer. But I think maybe they were rethinking the term autopilot, because that's the thing that they're pulling back on a little bit. It's not autonomous. It's not. It's just a really good cruise control.
Yeah, right. Like a cruise control advanced or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yes, you compare it to normal, like everyday driving deaths, and there's a lot more in what we're used to, the traditional kind of approach, as opposed to Tesla's. But Tesla's the new thing that we haven't seen before, and so of course people are going to be more critical on it, especially when you're talking about investors who have invested a lot of money in the company. It's all based on their interpretation of what they see coming out of Tesla, so they might in fact be affected by that, even though it kind of logically doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Elon Musk might have plans to get to Mars someday, but the company called Moon Express has a different, more immediate plan to be the first private company to make the moon their literal moonshot. Moon Express submitted an application that would see its rockets make the first commercial space trip beyond Earth's orbit, aiming for sometime next year. Moon Express is the first commercial company to receive the okay for landing on the moon. And it took a lot of work with the FAA, NASA, the Department of Defense, and other critical organizations in order to make that happen. They've raised more than $30 million so far from investors, and they're simulating moon landings right now. They really want to get there so they can get moon rock and bring it back and make it merchandise, essentially, as far as I can tell. That's the plan.
Yeah. I mean, they want to be the first there, right? They want to win the Google Lunar X Prize. They've built a robotic lander. So they're not talking about people going up there, right? It's just a robotic lander.
As far as I can tell, yeah, it's we want to send craft to the moon so that eventually we can bring materials that we find on the moon back to Earth for commercialization. So I'm imagining a new frontier of shops that you find on Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco where they sell you moon rock, and it's all thanks to Moon Express. I don't know. The more I think about this, the more I'm kind of like, really? That's the ambition? Bring back moon rock so we can sell it to people here on. No, don't get me wrong. I want to see moon rock and everything, but I guess somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, it's good business.
Right? Yeah. Space Exploration Act of 2015 actually made it so that those who travel to the moon can own anything that they bring back with them. And that's what Moon Express is looking to tap into.
Well, to the moon, I say.
Yeah.
To the moon, Jason. Apple released its most recent diversity report today, and they claim to have made progress, albeit very slight progress. 27% of global new hires were underrepresented minorities, compared to the 22% of current global employees who are underrepresented minorities. 37% of global new hires were female, compared to the 32% of current global employees who are women. Now, these numbers might sound kind of overwhelming unless you compare them to companies like Google and Facebook, where Black and Hispanic workers only make up 2 to 3% of global employees. So I'm a fan of the diversity reports. I like that they're being transparent about it. It doesn't seem like a lot of work is done. The Washington Post article talks about, if you're walking through the halls of Apple and, you are an underrepresented minority, you will still feel like you might be the only one there. But there is progress happening.
I mean, there's a lot of employees at these companies. Mm-hmm. To make any big percentage change in these numbers, if what people really wanted was no, I want a correction of 20% in the next quarter, that would involve, I would imagine, massive layoffs, and that would be big news, right? We got to get rid of all these people to make room for all these other people in order to make that correction. And for better or for worse, I don't think it really works like that. No. This is the first time that Apple included compensation data, and they say that they've achieved that pay equity in the U.S. They haven't released it for outside of the U.S. yet. They say they're working on it, but they analyze salary, bonuses, stock option grants between people of similar roles and performance grades. And they say that they've reached pay equity with women and minorities, as compared to their men employees. So that's good.
It's wonderful, and yet it is only a very small part of the problem. Like pay equity, 1 for 1, yes. Like it's very easy to say, like, you're doing the same job as I'm doing, so we're getting paid the same. But when you're talking about like the changes in managerial, like that didn't change very much.
Right.
So it's still like 28%. Female managers, 3% Black managers, but Hispanic managers grew from 6 to 7%. So if you're talking about like that, it is harder to get those. It might be harder to get. I think it is harder to get those positions as a woman or as an underrepresented minority, and so you're going to get paid less. So it's you pay equity. I'm so happy for it. But it's when
one piece of the puzzle.
It's only one piece of the puzzle. So.
Apple, just for example. Reverend Jesse Jackson, has basically told TechCrunch that he thinks that Apple is setting the pace for overall representation, although realizes that there's a lot of room, to grow here. He says that companies that are doing this right are doing so with partnerships with organizations that kind of further that work. They're, making diverse financial service firms, kind of cooperative agreements with them. Representation, obviously, both with employees and on the board. And kind of an example of that is that Apple added James Bell, former CFO, president of Boeing Company. He's an African-American, to the board of directors. So kind of taking that top-down approach and really kind of making sure that you're representative, not just with the employees that you're hiring, but like you say, with the people who have a lot of control over how the company is run. And that's good. Finally, in a follow-up on yesterday's story about how Telegram, that's the privacy-minded messaging platform, was reportedly hacked in Iran, Telegram took to its blog today to clarify a few details about how the story was portrayed. First, Telegram specifies that the way those 15 million accounts were confirmed by the people who were behind the reported data access was by using already public information, meaning that no account information was accessed. This was done using an API that Telegram says is now limited to prevent such mass checks as was done here. And that happened earlier this year. Telegram also points out that because its system is based solely on phone numbers, it's possible for anyone to confirm whether a specific number is tied to a user or not, pointing out that this is the same for other services tied to phone numbers, services like Facebook's Messenger and WhatsApp. And finally, Telegram reiterated the importance of two-factor authentication and protecting user accounts, admitting that the interception of SMS verification codes is a long-standing threat for users. I feel like we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks on this show, but it just keeps coming up. So there you go. If this hasn't hit the point home, yet, two-factor authentication, important for preventing stuff like this.
So if they had two-factor turned on, they would not have been. Their information would not have been accessed. That's what Telegram is saying. Yes. Yeah. So
exactly.
Keep calm. Keep using Telegram. It's not any more insecure than everything else, right?
As far as Telegram wants us to assume and understand, then yes.
Yeah. I mean, this was a particular because it's Iran, and one of the security researchers was from Amnesty International. These were journalists and whistleblowers. Like, I think they were really feeling like there was something else going on besides just people being, hacked for no reason. Like, I think
politically motivated.
Yeah, it was like, okay, we're going to share, that someone else was involved, like that the cell phone companies were handing over this information to the government because they asked for it.
Right. Up next, Father Robert Ballecer is in Vegas with Brian Burnett for Black Hat, actually. And they have a few things to talk about with the hack-filled craziness that's always going on at Black Hat and later in the week, DEF CON. But first, let's take a minute to thank the Tracker. Look, I've got one right here. They're the sponsor of this episode. With advancements in technology, we have smart cars, smartphones, smart homes, and all sorts of smart things in our lives, but you lose something, you don't feel very smart. Tracker makes losing things a thing of the past. I have a couple of trackers that I have thrown into different places so that they just kind of work when I'm not even thinking about it. They're just there tracking my backpack, tracking my keys, whatever it happens to be. You throw these on anything and you're going to know where they are, whether you dropped it behind the couch or you left it out at the park somewhere. You're going to find it. It's a coin-sized device. It'll help you locate your keys, your wallet, computers, even pets in seconds. The Tracker Bravo is constructed with beautiful anodized aluminum for the thinnest and most durable tracking. You can pair Tracker to your iOS or Android device. Then you just attach it to anything with a key loop or the adhesive that's included, and you find its precise location by tapping a button. It's really that easy. You can customize two-way separation alerts, so you're going to get a notification before you leave your item behind. And if you happen to lose your phone on the other end, you just press the button on the tracker and your phone rings, even when it's on silent. Over 1.5 million devices out there. Tracker has the largest crowd GPS network in the world, so your lost item shows up on a map, even if it's miles away. And if an item goes missing, the Tracker app's going to record its last known location on a map. And when another Tracker user comes within a 100-foot range of your lost item, you'll get a GPS update of where your item's located. Your phone can track up to 10 devices at once. You can have trackers all over the place tracking for you. Tracker is enabled by Bluetooth LE, low energy, so the battery lasts up to 1 year. You can also get water-resistant cases. Those are available for purchase and perfect for things like pet collars. And you can even add a laser engraved message to each Tracker Bravo, like return information or your pet's name and a phone number to contact you. And then, of course, I already showed it off, but new at Tracker is their custom image printing. You can personalize your tracker with a custom printed image, as you see here. I don't believe that they sell through their marketplace the Tech News Today branded tracker, but you could download our logo and print your very own and add your own custom image to Tracker. Tracker Atlas, which works with your Tracker Bravo or third-party Bluetooth tracker, can be used to pinpoint your items on a customizable floor plan of your home. It's going to save you time and energy by asking Tracker Atlas where your item is. You'll instantly get an answer. No need to search anymore. So go to thetracker.com. Never lose your possessions again. Plus, just for our audience, if you enter promo code TNT, you'll get 30% off your entire order. That's TheTracker.com, promo code TNT for 30% off your entire Tracker order. And we thank Tracker for their support.
The Black Hat Security Conference is taking Las Vegas by storm this week, and our very own Father Robert Ballecer is there doing his very best not to get hacked. He's joining us from an undisclosed location. Welcome, Padre.
Hello. I'm not sure exactly how undisclosed my location is. It's actually the press room, because this place is packed. This is the most crowded I have ever seen Black Hat. I got to say, they've grown the show probably more than twice of last year.
Wow.
So for those people who don't know what Black Hat is, can you explain a little bit about what it is, and specifically the difference between Black Hat and DEF CON, which is also going on right now?
Well, Black Hat and DEF CON were both created by a man by the name of Jeff Moss, who is currently a presidential advisor. He's known as the Dark Tangent, a very intelligent security researcher who had a vision of bringing together security professionals to share their research with one another and to allow people to come in and listen to them so that they know what threats are coming down the pipeline. Now, if we look at the difference between Black Hat and DEF CON, it would be easy to say, well, you've got good guys and bad guys, but really what it is Black Hat is more professionals. You get a lot of IT folk who come out here for their yearly learning of security, and DEF CON is more, it's summer camp for hackers, and I mean that in a good way. It's people who just want to come together, share what they've learned over the last year, sit down, hack some software, some hardware, and have a good time.
So tell us a little bit about some of the interesting things you've seen so far.
There have been a few interesting talks. It's not like last year. Last year, we had two talks that really captured the imagination of the crowd. The first was the Miller and Ballecer hack, where they hacked a Jeep. You may remember that. It made the rounds. They were able to control the steering and the brakes. And then we also had the tracking point hack, where a research couple had figured out how to re-aim the reticule on a smart rifle so that they could make you shoot at things you weren't actually aiming at. This year, it's more spread out. There's a lot of research being released, but nothing that has captured the imagination like those two last year. But a few of them have been very interesting for IT folk like myself. Amazon Web Services is hugely popular. There's a research team here who has figured out how to do a dirty authorization, where basically they log in under an account they just created, and then they can hop to someone else's account. Super dangerous, and something that needs to be addressed. There's also been a few bits of research about the Internet of Things. How do we secure it? What are the best practices for putting them on your network? But I think the one that just got me giggling was a hack done by a company called Rapid7, where they have used what are called shimmers. It's like skimmers, but they're for the chip and pin credit cards. You put these inside of the transaction machines, and then when someone puts their card in, it actually records the entire transaction, and it sends it to an offsite server. Well, then you take all of the transactions that you've recorded, say 50, 100, you go to an ATM machine, they created a custom device that fits over the top, and it replays all the transactions, which allows them to bypass any sort of username and password, and the cash machine just starts spitting out $100 bills. It was a very interesting demonstration and a little scary.
Wait, I actually do have a question about this. Were you able to keep any of the money that was spit out at you? Because it looks like there's a lot of money coming out of that machine right now.
I would have loved to. Actually, it's all movie money. It does look really real.
Whatever.
But it says on the back, it says movie prop money. I wanted to take some home, but they have a lot of demonstrations to do, and they said, well, we're going to need to reload the machine.
Yeah.
So did you figure out exactly how to do it so we can recreate it back here with the ATM around the corner?
Important question.
That's actually an upcoming know-how, because believe it or not, as sophisticated as the hack sounds, it used a Raspberry Pi and 2 Arduinos. So the programming is not all that difficult. Now, they did say, unlike a lot of the presentations here, they're not going to open source their code or their design because, in their words, it's just too darn easy. And not only is it too darn easy, but the scary part about this hack is we don't even have these ATM machines yet. These are the ATM machines that exist in Europe and South America. So we're going to get these in the next year, and there's no path to fixing it. This vulnerability is going to be around forever, which means we're all going to have to be a bit more wary about where we shove our credit cards.
So what's the overall feeling? Like, where are we are we getting more secure or less secure? Like, should we be feeling safer because of all of the research, or is it just getting more dangerous out there?
Very good question, and there's not a good answer. Should we be feeling safer? Absolutely not, because there's still a lot of threats out there. But that's not the tone at a conference like Black Hat or even like DEF CON. They want people not to be scared, but to be inspired to fix it, to make better technology. For example, at the keynote this morning, Dan Kaminsky, he had a line that I thought was very, very insightful, and that is, we are not competitors in security. And he was specifically speaking to all of the companies out there who deal with networking equipment. He said, look, I understand you want to deal with features and you want to show why your equipment is better than vendor X, Y, or Z, but when it comes to security, we have come to a point, especially since we're in this 24/7 connected era, where the vulnerabilities in my equipment will affect your customers. So we need to cooperate for security to create a better internet, not just a better product. I think that is really that's the uplifting message of Black Hat, at least so far.
Yeah, I kind of feel like conferences like Black Hat and DEF CON, to those who kind of aren't familiar directly with what a hacking conference of this type actually is seen as a place for all the hackers to get together and share secrets on how they can hack your stuff and whatever, and not be this like place of information, of education, of prevention, that sort of stuff. But speaking of prevention, I mean, you and Brian Burnett, you're there putting your devices on the line. It intimidates me, the thought of ever going to Black Hat or DEF CON, because I know that like you're basically a walking target, essentially. Your device is a walking target when you're at a conference like that, because people are just kind of proving what they know. How do you tackle that when you're there roaming the halls?
Well, we're more paranoid when it comes to DEF CON than Black Hat. Black Hat, again, it is more a professional conference. I'm not saying that hacking doesn't happen here, but you have people here who are really trying to soak up information versus DEF CON, where the pranks are the order of the day. There are a few things that both Brian and I do. First of all, when we get to DEF CON tomorrow, nothing wireless turns on. Bluetooth, GPS, cell, Wi-Fi, none of that will turn on because you will destroy your device. The second thing is, if you need information, you get it before you come to the conference. You don't log in so that you can download that quick reference. These are just sort of the helpful survival tips that you learn at a hacker camp. But more than anything else, here's the bit of wisdom I can get you. If you absolutely, positively must bring a device to Black Hat or DEF CON, either completely reformat it when you're done, even though that won't completely eliminate all the risk, or buy yourself a cheap burner device and then set it on fire when you leave Las Vegas.
No big deal.
Good advice. So I guess we're not going to be talking to you live tomorrow then. We can assume that from DEF CON.
We could do that if you don't mind Twit getting hacked.
Okay.
We'll think about that. Let's consider that at least. Let's not close that door.
So where can people see all of what you guys have been recording from Black Hat and then DEF CON?
Well, you're going to see a large chunk of it come out in the Black Hat 2016 special, which you can find at twit.tv/specials or on youtube.com/twitspecials. We'll be showing you all of the different interviews that we've done with the security researchers. We're hoping to get a word with Miller and Ballecer, last year's superstars, because they'll be here tomorrow talking about an update that they did to that hack. You'll also be able to see bits and pieces on both This Week in Enterprise Tech and Know-How, both on the Twit TV network.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Father Robert. Be safe.
My pleasure.
Be safe. Protect yourself. All right. Take care, you guys.
Don't melt.
Yes, exactly. 115-degree weather there. Whew. Yes, please. And maybe, protect your devices from melting, too. They could just melt in your pocket when you step outside. Ron Worrell wrote into us at tnt@twit.tv. You can do that as well. tnt@twit.tv is the email address. Ron says, Jason and Megan made comments about cord cutting and how they can't get regular TV. I cut cable and put up an antenna in my attic. I get all the major broadcast stations, NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox, plus the extra channels they all have. There is no reason not to watch the Rio Olympic Games on NBC because it will be broadcast free. If you're close to a broadcast antenna, a cheap plug in the back of your TV antenna works. There are many cheap options to watch broadcast TV. It's funny, like nowadays, it's easy to overlook the fact that it's just floating out in the sky. The problem is that I've tried that, and I get none of the major channels. Petaluma is just so far away from these major antennas that literally I do not get NBC, ABC, CBS, or Fox. I get these, like a couple of shopping networks, a few networks in Spanish that I can't understand. And it just doesn't make any sense for me. So that kind of isn't much of an option for me anyways.
Yeah, and especially it's on NBC. And I think NBC you haven't been able to get without cable for over a decade
I think,
in Petaluma, for sure.
From what I understand, NBC is located down in San Jose or whatever, the antenna, which doesn't make any sense for the Bay Area, the greater Bay Area, for it to be clear on the other side of the Bay Area. So, I mean, it's even hard to get it in San Francisco, let alone 45, 50 minutes north of San Francisco up to us. So, yeah, I wish it were that easy, but it's not.
And if you want to watch the Olympics, I think you might need a cable. You might need a cable subscription to watch it. I think that Wired magazine says you can watch it in a browser and there'll be commercials, but you don't need a cable subscription. But I'm not saying that you should do this, but someone could do this, just borrow someone's password just to watch the Olympics.
Someone
they
could. Someone
they could do
definitely
that.
could.
I'm not saying they should or would or will. I'm not saying that.
Someone definitely should. Oh, sorry.
All right.
I was just thinking.
China. Some people in China have just built a bus that might solve all of our future traffic problems. Jason is going to tell us all about how they're going to do that. But first, let's take a minute to thank Trunk Club, the sponsor of this episode. Summer is here. It's time to spruce up that old wardrobe of yours with some summer essentials like short sleeve button downs, lightweight blazers, and of course, swimwear. Whether you're looking for beach formal attire or grown-up graphic tees, Trunk Club is a shopping game changer for men and for women. With Trunk Club, you'll never have to step foot inside a store for your clothing needs again. Plus, you get your very own personal stylist for free. Just type in your measurements and share your style and your spending preferences to connect with the right Trunk Club stylist for you. He or she will contact you via phone, email, or messenger to understand your unique look and learn more about what you're looking for. Your stylist will select items for your trunk from over 80 top brands. Then they'll send you a preview of the clothes that might be a good fit for you. You can review your trunk via email, make edits before it's shipped right to your door. You'll have 10 days to try on the clothes. Then you keep what you like and you just send back the rest. Put it back in the trunk. Send it back. Trunk Club is not a subscription service, and shipping is always free both ways. Premium clothes, expert advice, no work, thanks to your very own personal stylist at Trunk Club. Trunk Club is backed by Nordstrom, which means they have the highest standards in quality and customer service. And if you live in Dallas, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, or D.C., you can stop by one of Trunk Club clubhouses to work with your stylist in person, and that is also free. Make a statement at the next big event on your calendar with a look that's handpicked just for you and your style. Get started today at trunkclub.com/TNT. Look and feel your best with clothes that fit you perfectly. That's trunkclub.com/TNT. And we thank Trunk Club for their support. TNT's fan of the day is the best at what he does. That's his username on Instagram. He sent us this picture saying, I'm walking the dog after work, and this is #HowIWatchTNT from MP3 on my LG G4. I love that you walk the dog and listen, and the dog might want to listen too. I mean, get some headphones for that dog.
Or wear like a little portable speaker around your neck and let everybody around you hear it.
Mm-hmm. And
don't limit it to just the dogs.
Exactly. And I want to tell you and all other dog owners out there that we should make a correction about our the Uber for dog poop.
Oh, yeah.
That
we
talked
never
about
actually
last
checked
week.
back in on that.
That was fake.
Yeah, it was fun though. It was enjoyable.
Well, the Wall Street Journal fell for it.
It was a statement.
It was
is what they said.
It was an art project.
Yeah.
This was you could say the location of your dog poop, and then someone would go pick it up for you, because that's what we've gotten to in the sharing economy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it wasn't real. But we weren't the only ones who fell for it. Lots of people did. So, but
yeah, and if it's a statement to be made, then it's an important statement, because in a world where you could conceive of an app like that existing, then maybe we have a few corrections that we have to make in what we're doing in the world, in the technology sphere.
Maybe nothing we've ever talked about is real.
This is the Matrix. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
So show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video, take a picture of yourself or your setup, post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. Use the hashtag #HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it.
We'll find it. All right. If you like your trains to eat up cars, then this story is for you. Okay, maybe not like eat them up, but it kind of looks like that's what's going on. It's the TEB1. That stands for Transit Elevated Bus. It's built in China as a real-world test of its plans to create an above-ground bus or train, because it's actually on tracks, that literally glides over the top of the winding road beneath it. Meaning, if you're driving on the road, suddenly a gigantic 72-foot long by 25-foot wide vehicle, a craft of sorts, will zoom over the top of you. And inside, there are 300 passengers just tucked away, looking out the window going, oh my goodness, can you even believe this is happening right now? Let's hope your vehicle isn't taller than 7 foot, though. Otherwise, you now own a convertible. But yeah, it's kind of cool. It's more than anything, it's a proof of concept. They've been talking about this idea, I guess, all the way back to 2010. And here it is. It exists, and it's being tested.
It makes sense. I mean, if you're riding public transportation, you should be able to go ahead of all the people in their own car. That's what I say.
Yeah. I don't know. How do you, like, that would freak me out if suddenly something, you're driving along and suddenly something, I guess maybe you'd get used to it, though.
Yeah.
Something passes right over to you, and you better not swerve at the wrong time. Otherwise, you're running right into it. But I guess the same could be said for the barriers on the side of the road. So just don't do that the way you normally don't do that, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Prototypes are currently being constructed. 5 cities. God, it's so weird. 5 cities have signed contracts for pilot projects. So, yeah, could be coming to a Chinese city near you, unless you don't live in China, and then probably never. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. Leave us a short voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. And find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV. And please tell us how you watch TNT. Hashtag #HowIWatchTNT. Do that, because I want you to keep doing that, because we're running a little low. I mean, we've got plenty, but I want more, so do it right now.
And if you're still listening, thank you. This gives me an opportunity to tell you how to subscribe to our show if you haven't already. Go to twit.tv/TNT, and that's the way you find all the ways to subscribe. And if you want to tweet at me, I'm at Megan Morrone.
I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to our technical director, Kara Cole, who's back there pushing the buttons and all that. Thanks to Burke for the words on the screen, and everyone who helps us produce this show every single day, and Father Robert Ballecer, of course, and Colleen, and everyone, basically. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Oh, overhead.
Uh-huh.